Before there were maps, there were two worlds. The world you know, and the shining realm of Kaf, hidden just beyond it. A kingdom of fairies and giants and magic. On the night he was born, an emperor 1,000 miles away woke from a dream. A black crow that stole his crown, and a bright hawk that flew out of the west to win it back. And the wise men said, "That hawk is a child, and he will shake the thrones of the world." That same night, the fairies of Kaf carried the sleeping baby across the sky. They blessed him, and they touched his eyes, so that nothing hidden could ever hide from him again. His name was Hamza. He would become the bravest champion the world had ever seen. Strong as a lion, a warrior against 100 armies, a prince who lost his heart to a princess, and at his side, the cleverest trickster who ever lived. Amir, a thief of 1,000 disguises, and the truest friend a hero ever had. Together, they crossed burning deserts and enchanted mountains. They faced sorcerers and giants and dragons and the demon armies of Kaf. They saw wonders no eye had ever seen. Thrones that flew, cities of gold, gardens that bloomed in the dark, courage, magic, love, and laughter. One of the greatest stories ever told, carried for 1,000 years. And now, it is yours. This is the Dastan of Amir Hamza. He sends you to collect another man's head, and he prays that you both die of the errand. Landhaur bin Sa'dan, Emperor of Hindustan, master of the mace and the war elephant, a mountain that walked. Devotion was his nature. His grief, when it came, would strike him to his knees. The head in question belonged to Landhaur, Emperor of Hindustan, and it was, as heads go, magnificent. A letter of grievance came to the throne at Ctesiphon against Landhaur, the rebel emperor of the East, and Naushervan, half of him weighing his empire and the other half leaning toward the whisper of Baktak, made a proclamation before his whole court. The hand of Mihr Nigar, his own daughter, to the man who could subdue the Emperor of Hindustan. And Hamza accepted before the echo of it had died in the hall. So the betrothal was sealed with wedding sherbet. But Amir, outrageous and, as ever, entirely correct, objected that a man about to sail across the world and die for a bride ought at least to be permitted to see her first, and the queen, Mihr Nigar, allowed exactly one look behind the edge of a curtain, and through that curtain rings were exchanged. Keep your eye on that ring, children. Mihr Nigar will wear it a long, long way, and in the same breath, as though the world required a jester's mirror for every solemn thing, Amir was promised to a lady named Fitna Bano, and courted her with a gift men still laugh about, 1 date and 2 walnuts, and she kept them. Then the armada sailed out of Basra toward the island of Sarandip, and here the tale unfurls all its sails at once. Amir, who had no love of the sea, tried first to escape the entire ocean by nobly offering to stay behind and pray for the fleet. Hamza, with great ceremony, granted him a small boat instead, and Amir rowed to a little island and stepped ashore upon it, and the island dove, for it was a fish. Fished out, dripping, he announced to all who would hear that the ocean now owed him money. Then came the castaways, with legs like leather straps, pitiable creatures who begged upon the shore to be carried, and then knotted those strap legs around their carriers' throats and would not let go. Terror of the kind that visits sailors in their worst dreams, until Amir tricked his own rider and killed him, and freed the others, and then presented a bill to every man he had saved. And then the sea itself opened, the Whirlpool of Alexander, a hurricane, and the ships spiralling down the drain of the world, and at the dead centre of it a black pillar of stone, and upon the pillar a tablet with words cut into it, that only the lord of the auspicious conjunction, or his deputy, might climb this pillar and beat the drum of Alexander. Hamza rose at once to climb it, but Amar, first pausing in the teeth of the storm, to extract signed notes of promise from every officer on the deck, claimed the deputy's right, and leapt, and he missed, and he landed upon the back of a surfacing crocodile, and sprang off its very teeth, and reached the pillar, and beat the drum, and the sound of it was the end of the world. 1,000,000 seabirds burst off that pillar in a single roaring cloud, and the wind of all their wings blew the whole fleet clear of the spiral and out onto open water. The ships made Sarandip, but Amar was left marooned upon the pillar, alone in the middle of the sea, and there he was not abandoned. In a green robe that has no face, a figure of light came to him upon the water, and fed him from a bread that did not end, and a flask that did not empty, and carried him to land by the speaking of a secret name. And another such light gave him 2 gifts he would lean upon for years to come: a net that makes any burden light, and a blanket that makes the man beneath it vanish from all eyes. So Amar walked into the war camp, and found it in the middle of a funeral, his own. They were mourning him, and rather than announce himself like an honest man, he spent one perfect night wrapped in his new blanket, unseen, calling himself the Angel of Death, and relieving the grieving nobles of their gold at a whisper, until Hamza knew that whisper for what it was, and threw his arms around a man he could not see, and wept and laughed. Then came the war for a head, and it began, of course, with Amar's mischief. He drugged Landhaur's whole court and stripped it of its jewels in the dark. Hamza, furious, sent every last jewel back with an apology, and Landhaur, Emperor of Hindustan, did not rage. He asked to meet the thief, so Amar came and robbed him a second time, taking the royal robes off the emperor's own back, and Landhaur laughed like thunder in the monsoon, and swore it was the finest entertainment of his entire reign. The 2 camps feasted together before they ever fought, everyone at the table knowing full well that tomorrow would be spears. Landhaur offered Hamza an alliance against Naushervan himself, and Hamza refused, for his word was already given to the crown. Then Landhaur offered his own head freely, unresisting, and Hamza refused, that far harder. No, it would be settled the honourable way, and 700,000 men watched them settle it, spears first, and Landhaur let himself be disarmed rather than strike the first blow. Against one, he said, whom my heart already serves. Then the mace. 3 blows that would have split a fortress, and Hamza took them on the armband of Adam and stood. Then the great sword, Samson, through shield and through war horse both. And then, at the last, they wrestled. 3 days, children, and 3 nights, locked together, neither yielding, sunrise and torchlight, and sunrise again, like 2 storms grinding against each other and refusing to break. And on the 4th day, Hamza lifted the Emperor of Hindustan clean over his head into the sky, and the roar of the crowd fell silent, and Landhaur, hanging upside down against the heavens, began to laugh. "Put me down, Arab," he said, "I am yours." And they feasted and were brothers, and his great war elephant knelt before her master's new brother. So the Amir came home in triumph, and walked straight into a trap that had been laid for him across the whole time he was away. Poison, cured in a single beat by one of Amar's amulets. A false report of his own death. A new suitor produced for Mihr Nigar, who was standing at her window with a knife in her hand when Amar climbed through it, dressed as an astrologer. "Weep, later," he told her. "He is alive. Also, I shall need to borrow your suitor." And then Baktak's masterstroke, in open court, before the whole assembly. If Hindustan is truly subdued, he said, silk over a blade, then let its emperor's head prove it. Or was the great victory of the Sahib Kiran merely a private arrangement between friends? And Hamza went very still, for he would not break his word to the crown. So he ordered the execution, and dared his own companions to be the ones to carry it out, and not one of them could. Each man stepped up before the kneeling emperor, who knelt serene and said only, "Strike, I die the emperor's servant." And each man lowered the blade and stepped away. And when at last the royal executioner raised his axe, it was caught in the very air by the arrival of the queen's household. Mihr Nigar, with Mihr Nigar at her shoulder, overruled the king of kings before his own throne, took Landhaur under the protection of the women's palace, and walked him out. And Naushervan watched his own wife undo his vizier's trap, and understood at last whose idea it had been to send for her. His eyes found Hamza's across the hall, and neither of them bowed. So the Amir won a war and refused its trophy, and the court learned the most dangerous thing about him, that he could not be made cruel. A king can bribe the greedy, and a king can frighten the fearful. But a merciful man, with an army of forgiven enemies at his back. For that, children, a king needs a subtler poison. His name was Baktak, and he had a mother. Sleep now. The lamp burns low, and tomorrow I will tell you what an old woman's cunning can do that 10,000 spears could not.